I want to talk about Pedro Neto, another one of these wingers, but ever since he started, or sort of started coming on, he started having a little bit more of an impact. Has he nailed down that spot now, Jody? Is that his after that goal against Arsenal? Is that?
I think the problem with wingers, and I've always found this, and Jace will probably say the same sort of thing, but problem with wingers is that they can be so hot and cold.
Yeah.
And luckily for us and people like Liverpool who have the same amount, is that if one's not doing it, then get them off the pitch. And at the moment, you're going, Neto is producing. And he looked a threat at Newcastle, where he sets up Nicholas Jackson's goal. Great pace, great pass from Palmer. He looks a threat on both sides. And even though he swapped for a little bit against Arsenal, and obviously gets his goal from coming in off the right, he's doing both sides really well. And I think when you've got that, you've got to keep them in. And at the moment, I always liked Neto at Wolves, always caused us problems, caused so many top teams problems as well when there was room. The only thing I would say is that as we get better, and I think as teams will show us a little bit more respect, which I think they will as the season goes on, that's when we got to see him operating in maybe smaller, tighter spaces.
Is this the competition? Obviously, Pedro Neto, like you say, Jody, has been very good off the left, very good off the right. I think he prefers playing off the right. But is that good competition for someone like Madueke? Because we don't have much competition.
You absolutely need that. Pedro Neto's, for me, whenever I saw him play for Wolves, always off the right.
Yeah.
He causes teams so many problems because he can go on the outside and, as we saw, come inside. The problem, if he does start on the right, it then creates who plays on the left. Mudryk, for me, in the big games, I don't think he trusts him. I don't think he'll play out there. We've already spoken about Nkunku.
Sancho as well.
What has happened to Sancho? He started brightly. Does he trust Sancho as well? So he's got a bit of an issue. If you put Neto on the going into that game, I'd have had Neto on the left, Madueke on the right. A bit disappointing, Madueke, but as soon as Neto goes across, I felt defensively we looked.
It's his willingness to run off the ball as well, though. Yeah. It's not just the dribbling. Well. It's not the dribbling and cutting inside and do stuff. He will run off the ball, which in turn allows your creative players that can pick passes, like your Palmers, to then thread balls in behind. And if you haven't got that, people threatening behind, it doesn't open up the space in front of their back four. So you need it on both sides.
That pass that he made for the Newcastle
identical goal against Wolves, where he made that running behind again and set up Felix for that goal. Obviously, it was later in the game. Wolves basically capitulated. But I literally celebrated when we signed Neto. Because obviously a lot of the players that we've signed, I've not known them, we've scouted them, they're from, clubs that I've not watched them at. But Neto, obviously, in the Premier League,
keeping him fit, because the big issue
is
is going to be his time at Wolves. Devastating on that right-hand side. Caught the eye, injuries. But so far...
Yeah. They've managed him well, I think, with the Conference League games. But his cross for Gusto as well. He can cross either foot. That's such a great threat to have. So he's unpredictable.
He was turning Ben White. He kept going back forward, and then he whips it. Because I was thinking, oh, God, he's doing the same thing. What's going to happen here? And then he puts in a perfect ball. I think on his day, he's one of the best wingers in the league. And I think we're very, very lucky to have him. Now, obviously, spoke about that competition with Madueke. Jody, I want to get your opinion on this. As a head coach, you've been a head coach, you've been an assistant manager. So... obviously, after he got subbed off, he walked straight down the tunnel. How would you react as a head coach if that was one of your players?
Yeah, I'd be fuming. Now, listen, sometimes there are mitigating circumstances in which may have transpired before this happened. You never know. Sometimes players have got little niggles and they're kind of moaning about it and then try and act like they've gone down the tunnel because they're injured. But no, I'd be fuming. And I think we've got a manager that would address that instantly, which I think the best ones do. And it's not just disrespectful to your teammates, but to the fans as well. Like, we're all sitting there, we're all watching a game, and someone doesn't want to watch just because they're not on the pitch at the end. But it's not the first time we've seen it with football players up and down the country. And listen, if it's put to bed quickly, which I think the best managers do, get it nailed down, probably in the dressing room, to be honest, would pull him in straight away. But that's what I personally would have done. I maybe would have pulled him back up the tunnel when he was doing it. But
is it a bit of a childish immaturity thing? Is that what it is? Do you think?
Possibly. We are a very young squad. Possibly. But you don't really want to see that. But look, Maresca's he has shown that he is a strong manager. He's made some big decisions already. Yeah. I don't think it would bother him one bit to pull Madueke and everyone look, because it was so public and it was on TV, we all saw it. Deal with it in-house, shut it down, and move forward.
I didn't know what the reason as to why he was going down the tunnel. Like you said, it could have been a reason for it. But with Maresca, like was said, I think he's been so transparent, he's been so clear in his press conferences, really wants to make it clear how he wants to play, how he's going to run the team, what the culture of the club needs to be like. So I don't think he's going to not address that if it's an issue.
And also, let's get it right, he's played Madueke more than anyone else.
Yeah.
So he's shown his faith in the player. So it can be sometimes a kick in the teeth when they do show a little bit of disrespect, especially after showing him the respect of starting in big games for us. And to be fair to Madueke, he's produced a lot of games this year.
Yeah, he has produced, as has the man that always produces, and that is Cole Palmer. I mean, anyone else happy to see him leave international duty?
Yes,
honestly, when I saw that, I saw Colwell and Fofana.
See ya.
And it's like, yeah, and there's been a lot has been made, right, of players ducking out. There's not a football fan out there that supports whatever club they play for that isn't relieved. 2 weeks off, you got a whack. I mean, Lisandro Martinez, that's a red card in my book. Gets a whack on his knee. Just have 2 weeks off. Take your time, son.
For me, when Thomas Tuchel arrives, January, that's when it starts.
I
can't wait.
I'm so... I don't think I've ever been more excited for an England manager in my whole life.
Same.
Yeah.
Jody, do you love him as much as we love him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a manager that has got personality, charisma, and I think he's one that is used to dealing with big players. And obviously, at the time we're in now with England, we've got some of the biggest we've had. So I think he'll do great.
I hope he does great. Hopefully, he can win
the World Cup.
Anyway, Jody, I just want to talk to you a little bit. Obviously, in your career, like coming through the Chelsea ranks and then being assistant manager with Frank Lampard, which was one, like, just you and Frank together was one of my favourite times as a Chelsea fan. The way you left, do you feel like there's unfinished business with the club?
Well, I don't know. Frank's been back there once already. I wouldn't mind going back. No, listen, it's just football. I mean, I was talking about it earlier. It was a proud moment to go back to the team that you supported as a boy and was lucky enough to play for. But yeah, it's never a great way to end when you get the sacked, and then obviously Tuchel comes in and goes on and wins the Champions League. We'll just win the group there. Unbeaten. You can go on and just get us over the line, yeah?
You had your fingerprints on that Champions League. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have done it without
You went for unbeaten in that group stage.
Thanks for saying that.
You did, Joe. You're part of that.
Listen, I think we all know, we're all Chelsea fans, we all know friends, and it was a special moment for us being able to go back to the club that we feel so highly about, and to be able to bring through some homegrown players that have a connection with the fans and stuff. That
first season was brilliant. By the way.
I always think
that first season's underrated.
It's so underrated.
Yeah. We lost
Hazard and had a transfer ban. And I genuinely believe that if it wasn't you and Frank, it would have gone so badly.
The atmosphere around the ground at that time,
You two were the only two that could have...
It was so good. The atmosphere, because we saw Frank... It just felt like a family, like a real family there. It was a... Yeah,
it was good times.
Yeah. What was so gutting about that season was just not getting that FA Cup. Pulisic got injured, I think it was, or there was...
Pulisic and Aspilicueta both done there, and then Cover got sent off.
For, by the way, a foul when his foot got trod on.
Yeah. And if we finished the season there in FA Cup...
Let's not talk referees. No referee chat in this on Inside Chelsea today. But for us, as Chelsea fans, it was great. And, I mean, obviously Frank's been back. I would be open to a third stint with Frank and a second with you. Would you, like, long term? Obviously, you probably have ambitions, to be a head coach from your last job. And is that something you want to carry on doing? And
just where I'm at the minute is I'm open to all sorts of things, because I've been out of the game for probably too long now. Only having the head coach job at Swindon didn't go as smoothly as I would have liked. But I'm all ears to stints at certain places. But, no, obviously, when you're talking about the pinnacle for me is Chelsea, it always will be. So, yeah.